What's going on, guys? Your boy Rod Amazing here, back with another video. And in today's video, guys, I wanted to do a 5-star review for the Dendro Archon Nahida. So in this video, guys, we're going to be going over Nahida's kit. I'm going to go over how I built my Nahida specifically, and then we're also going to be discussing whether or not she's going to be worth picking up for your account when she does get here on the rerun, and how good of a character she actually is overall in the game. If you guys enjoy videos like this, man, definitely make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, guys. We are on the road to that 1,000 subscribers, and if you guys didn't know already, we are doing a 5x Welkin Moon giveaway at 1,000 subscribers. So once we do hit 1K, any of you guys that are subbed to my channel do have a chance to win. You just have to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, and you'll be entered to win. Now, with that out of the way, guys, let's hop in and let's actually talk about Nahida here and what she's able to provide for your account, what she's doing, and how I personally built the character. So Nahida is the Dendro Archon. I mean, you know, she's the character that came out for Sumeru and the Dendro Archon of Genshin Impact. So let's actually go over her talents here, and we'll talk about exactly how they work. So we have her normal attack talent right here, which I do not have level 10 yet. I have it at level 9. But this is only really useful for like an on-fielder Nahida, which I do like to run every once in a while. But yeah, this is pretty much a normal attack, and she's a catalyst, right? So performs up to 4 attacks that deal Dendro damage to opponents in front of her. And then her charge attack is going to consume a certain amount of stamina to deal AoE Dendro damage to opponents in front of her after a short casting time. And then for her plunging attack right here, guys, calling upon the might of Dendro, Nahida plunges toward the ground from mid-air, damaging all opponents in her path, dealing AoE Dendro damage upon the impact with the ground. So yeah, for normals and stuff, I mean, you only really like level this up, guys, if you're planning to use Nahida on field. For the most part, a lot of people like to run Nahida as like an off-field damage dealer. I wouldn't blame you if you don't touch this at all, guys, but I'm personally someone who likes to run on-field Nahida. I think it's kind of fun, you know. You have her for like on-field Dendro, and then you have like off-field like Electro if you want to do like spread or quicken, I mean. So yeah, it's definitely good. And if you do want to level up the normals, it is an option. Now, the next thing here that we have, guys, is going to be her elemental skill, which is all schemes to know. And the way that this elemental skill pretty much works, guys, is that's going to have an effect here where you pretty much here, I'll show you guys in game that it's a little bit easier to actually see it, right? But the idea is with it is that you're actually going to switch into Nahida, and when you do the elemental skill on an enemy, it's going to do a little like picture pretty much, right? You're taking a picture, and when you do get an enemy in your little like circle or the little like square right there, it's gonna apply a little like Dendro thing on them, so that whenever they do take damage, it actually hits them with Dendro ticks of damage. I think it's every like maybe like 3 seconds maybe. I'd have to actually check in the characters to see if they got it, but I think it pretty much does tick. Yeah, so that's 5 seconds. And then do they say a timer on this if I'm not mistaken? Yeah, the trigger interval, it's about 2.5 seconds, guys. That's every time that it's gonna trigger the Dendro damage. And so this works really well in, you know, bloom type comps. You got hyper bloom, you got you know, burgeon, burning, anywhere that you can apply Dendro and benefit from it through a reaction, Nahida's gonna be insane. And the duration of it is 25 seconds, guys, too, which the actual cooldown on Nahida's E is not even as long as 25 seconds. I think the press cooldown is 5 seconds and the hold cooldown 6 seconds. So you have 100% uptime on this elemental skill whenever you are using it. And you guys can see here as well that it actually does also convert your elemental mastery into damage. So it's taking the percent of the elemental mastery plus 371% elemental mastery as a tag, which is going to be buffing your damage a ton. And that's why a lot of people do like to build Nahida in a very EM based you know, setup, where you do try and build as much EM as possible, so that when you have her off field with the Tri-Karma Purification, it's dealing a ton of damage off field. And then another thing too, guys, is going to be her elemental burst here, which is actually going to be dependent on the type of characters you have on the team. And these are all the types here that can actually react with Dendro, and depending on the type that you have that can react with Dendro, there is going to be a certain buff you do gain from it. So for Pyro right here, while Nahida remains within the Shrine of Maya, the damage dealt by the Karma Purification from all schemes to know is increased. Now with Electro, while Nahida remains in the Shrine of Maya, the interval between the Tri-Karma Purification from all schemes to know is decreased. So that means when you're doing the elemental skill here, the interval trigger is going to be a lot less than 2.5 seconds, which is really strong too. And then the final thing here, Hydro, guys, is going to be the duration of the Shrine of Maya is going to be increased in general. And yeah, this is going to be dependent on the party members. So if there are at least 2 party members of the aforementioned elemental types present, the aforementioned effects will be increased further, right? So the more characters you have of these types, the more benefit you do gain. Now, if you actually go to the effects right here, you can see 1 character for Pyro, 2 characters for Pyro, 1 character for Electro, 2 characters for Electro, 1 for Hydro, 2 for Hydro right there. And you can see the percent increases at level 10 of the talent. You guys can see here too, guys, that the base duration is also 15 seconds and the cooldown is only 13.5, so you can get this on cooldown. And with this burst being only a 50 energy cost burst, it is actually very easy to get this burst off on cooldown pretty much throughout your rotation. Alright guys, so we have our first talent right here. So it when unleashing Illusory Heart, the Shrine of Maya will gain the following effects. The elemental mastery of the active character within the field will be increased by 25% of the elemental mastery of the party member with the highest EM. And you can gain up to a maximum of 250 elemental mastery in this manner. So what people like to do with Nahida, guys, in terms of the actual like amount of EM you go with, generally speaking, if you're running an off-field Nahida, people like to go for about they go for about 800 EM, because that's actually going to net you around 200 EM that you gain when you do the Shrine of Maya, which is going to net you around that 1k that you would need to fully max out the next passive right here, which is going to be Awakening Elucidated, right? So each point of Nahida's elemental mastery beyond 200 will grant a 0.1% damage bonus and a 0.3% critical rate for the elemental skill with the Tri-Karma Purification. And the maximum amount of bonus you can get is 80% bonus damage and 24% crit rate in this manner. So that's why people like to build a lot of EM on Nahida. Now, for me personally, I like to build Nahida in more of a on-field DPS type build. And so for my artifacts here, guys, I did go with a 4-set Deepwood, which is going to be her best in slot. Deepwood is going to be 15% dendro damage bonus on the 2-piece. And then on the 4-piece, after elemental skill or burst hit the opponents, the target's dendro res will be decreased by 30% for 8 seconds. And this effect can be triggered even when the equipping character is not on the field, so that Nahida's pretty much has 100% uptime on this 30% dendro shred, with getting the 15% dendro damage bonus on top of that. And so yeah, guys, I built my Nahida in a more of like a on-field damage dealer role, where I have a crit rate circlet, a dendro damage cup, and then also a elemental mastery sands. Now, if you wanted to build Nahida strictly for off-field damage, then you definitely want to swap either the goblet or also the circlet here for EM, so you can hit that 800 threshold. If you're able to hit that threshold with like other artifacts here, like let's say I had like 90 EM on this feather, and then I had like, yeah, the 60 EM on this like flower right here, then you could maybe make do with a dendro cup, crit rate circlet, crit damage circlet, and a elemental mastery sands. It's possible, right? It just depends on how much EM you can get, and I generally recommend that most people go for around that 800 value, which, as you guys can see, for me, I'm at about 660, and that's because I like to have the option of playing Nahida as a on-fielder, where I want to see a lot of her damage from her normals while her elemental skill is going, and then also benefiting from the Illusory Heart, right? So we're trying to get all the benefits from all of that. Now, in terms of weapons here, guys, for Nahida, she actually does have a few free-to-play friendly options too. So I know a lot of people actually like to run Sacrificial Fragments, and the reason why this is so good is because it has really high base EM. And remember that the reason why we were trying to get a ton of EM on Nahida is so that we get the full benefit from her, you know, Ascension passive, where she does actually get the crit rate and also the bonus damage, right? So as much EM as you can get is going to boost all of this, and that's obviously going to help a on-field or off-field Nahida in terms of that, right? So that's going to be very important. Now, I obviously have her signature here, but you don't necessarily need the signature again, guys. I think there's a lot of options for Nahida, but I think for the general idea is you want something that is going to give you some type of EM stat stick, right? You want a bunch of EM that you can get. So Sacrificial Fragments is going to be good. If there's any other like EM book that I got here, you definitely could run that as well. Maybe Wandering Even Star as well. You know, this one could be solid as well, as it does give a bonus attack percent for the EM you got. So that's going to be fairly good too. So you do have some options here, guys, in terms of things you could run, but generally speaking, like a Sac Fragments or even like a Wandering Even Star is going to be really good as like an option if you don't have a 5-star weapon for Nahida or you don't want to get her signature. So yeah guys, that is pretty much the kit of Nahida right there. Now, what's going to be my review for the character? How good is Nahida nowadays in the meta of Genshin Impact? In my opinion guys, I still think Nahida is the best character for Dendro application in the entire game. You know, she's able to buff the team depending on the types that you have that do react with Dendro. Obviously with the Burgeon or Burning with Pyro, you have Hydro being Bloom or Hyper Bloom, and then you have Aggravate with, or Electro with Aggravate Spread, Hyper Bloom type comps, right? And so Nahida, if you're looking for someone that can apply that much Dendro, then she is going to be the character that is easily able to apply the most amount, and you're going to be able to do a ton of damage off field with her, whereas you can also do it on field too. So you have both the options. If you want to do on fielder, you can have her be a, spread DPS on field, or you can run her off field and you can have the elemental skill with the, I forget what it's called, the tri-camera, right? It's going to do a ton of damage off field, and you can have that be the case for your team so that you're buffing the whole team. And if you're someone that is building Dendro specific characters here guys, like or like types of comps specifically, like let's say you're building a Nilou team, Nahida in my opinion is a must run on one of those teams. If you're running her for a aggravate DPS, but if you want like off-field damage from Nahida, let's say you're running like Chlorind, in my opinion I think Chlorind's best team is going to be Chlorind, Nahida, Fischl, Zhongli, and I usually recommend people run that, and Nahida is the best Dendro application you can get. So things like that where you have aggravate type teams. Hyper Bloom you don't necessarily need Nahida for, but she obviously does help a lot. You have like Bloom, you have Burgeon Burning, she could be good. You can also run Nahida on like Ganyu Melt. I know people have actually tested that out too, and that definitely works as well, where you have the Dendro elemental skill on the enemy, and then you have a fire proc onto it, so it starts burning, and then you can actually melt with Ganyu. That's actually a pretty cool idea you can do with it too. So overall guys, I mean, there are a ton of team comps you can run with Nahida, and she's a very flexible character at that too. Because Nahida is a character that is going to be really strong across the board guys, I definitely do recommend getting this character if you're someone who is investing into the Dendro teams. If you're someone that wants to build, like a Hyper Bloom setup or an Aggravate type team, and you want to have really good off-field Dendro application, then Nahida is going to be a must pull in my opinion, just based on those things alone. And in terms of where I had Nahida ranked in terms of my top 5 must pull guys, I had her I think at the number 5 slot, barely edging into the top 5. But since Shalonen's release, I actually have bumped her down now to number 6. But I still think the value that Nahida does provide for your account is very substantial, and you do get a lot out of running this character on your teams, and she's just a super strong character to have on your account guys if you want any type of Dendro DPS, or like character that benefits from the Dendro reaction as a DPS on your team. So yeah guys, that pretty much covers my full thoughts on Nahida, man. I think she is a super fun character, and if you guys are planning on summoning for this character, she is going to be a mainstay on your account if you're someone that runs any type of Dendro reaction type teams. And you guys have seen multiple of my showcases where, whenever I'm using a aggravate DPS or, a Hyper Bloom type setup or whatever the case, I'm always running Nahida because of that Dendro app, man. It's so important how good her Dendro app on the elemental skill is. No other character in the game can do as much Dendro application as she can do. She does the most amount, and that's what makes this character super strong in my opinion. And also the fact that she's also buffing the team too, dependent on the type of characters you have on your team, which you're always going to be having some of these characters when you're running Burgeon, Burning, Hyper Bloom, Aggravate, any of those types of reactions, you're getting these bonuses for these characters too. So yeah, man, very, very fun character. She has a bunch of different playstyles as well. You can run her on field like I like to do. You can run her off field where you benefit the elemental skill the most. And you have that as options, or you can just run her full support and just go with the burst and then into the elemental skill and switch off, and then you don't switch back until the cooldown is done. But she is such a good character in my opinion, and if you're someone that is investing in Dendro, she is a must. So yeah guys, let me know what you think about Nahida in the comments below. Will you guys be pulling for her in the second half of 5.1? Let me know in the comments below, and let me know if you guys want to see a Hu Tao video on this as well, where I do another 5-star review. I think these videos are really good because I get to kind of briefly give you guys my opinion on where I feel the character is in the meta right now and how good they stack up. So I hope you guys do enjoy the video, man. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, guys, and we'll see you guys on the next video, man. Peace out. Have a great rest of your day, guys. See you later, man.